That's the doctor's orders. That's the diet he's got me on. And I can't afford to buy half the stuff that's on there. It's what I can eat. So I have to do without. We ain't getting what we're supposed to be able to live on, and I think we're getting a raw deal out of the thing, because we're not living like people should. We're classified as a low peoples, low class peoples. But we like to live just as well as anybody else. It's supposed to be a free country, but where's the freedom at?
There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. Now, as I look through this community, I find that this relates quite a bit to what we have here, because it's as though that the Presidential Management Realty Corporation is a large company, and that they have a lot of money, they have a lot of power. And that I feel this way, that with it being this way, that they take advantage of people, because people can't afford attorneys, they can't afford lawyers, to be able to give them legal advice.
The tenant union for the manor started with people that had reached the Columbus Tenant Union and arranging for a public meeting where all the tenants of the manor were invited. This meeting was to organize a committee to deal with management about solving some of the problems tenants suffered.
When you come home, your stuff's laid out in the street. Now, what have you got? You know, nothing. You can't even open the door to go in and see if anything is left.
I expected to see the tenants union go, because there were many people that had received notices for 15 days to move out, whether their lease was up or not.
Well, the reason we came together here was all because of the notice that we got to move.
The people next door to me, they was here and they paid their rent every time, as far as I know, on time. Okay. They came home one night. They said, well, you all have to be out in the next 10 days. In the next 10 days, how are they going to find somewhere when they're working every day within the next 10 days? They had to move. And they say, well, we'll move you out. We'll move you into another apartment for $50. It costs you $50 to move out, $50 when they move you back. That's $100. Now, who's got that?
Well, we began to wonder on this, and we got our lease out and read it through, and there was nothing that we could find that, you know, said that we would have to move within 5 days.
You take with price of food going up, and they try to keep wages down, and they try to raise the rent on people. And this, to me, is very unfair, because it kind of appears as though they're trying to thrive off of the working man, off of the poor man.
It's no good. The landlord-tenant relation, they will just send you what they want to send you and tell you, well, we're going up on the rent, $15, $10, you know. You can't say nothing. If you want to live here, you got to go along with it.
In other words, they were threatening people, they were using scare tactics, and they were doing anything and everything they could find to do or to say to make people move.
We expected to approach management with certain requests and certain problems that tenants suffered, and work with management to solve them and to better the manor, to better the complex. And we expected the tenants to get a community spirit out of it and better the way they lived. And it didn't happen, but that's what we expected.
Well, some people were afraid to get into to the tenant union because of, fear of management. I'm not sure what happened with the booth that we were supposed to have here, but they told us that we could have one, but all of a sudden it was canceled.
We were supposed to have a bake sale and a flea market. But
Raise money for a tenant union.
yeah, to raise money for our tenant union in order to have other functions for the tenants. The people that put on this carnival, they are afraid.
Most businesses don't want to get involved politically because then they would be helping the union and they want to keep on good standing with the businessmen.
Not the people. Right.
The money.
That's why they didn't allow us to go through with our having a booth. First thing you have to do, recognition from the proper people like management and neighborhood organizations that can help you, but they don't want to get involved. Where we wanted to get cooperation to organize things to help the tenants enjoy themselves and so forth, any kind of community things, we had to contact businessmen, and the businessmen had interests, at least, in land, and so it was hard to get anything from any businessmen.
I think a tenant union should inform the tenants of their rights and provide legal aid for tenants who are fighting a landlord problem.
The labor union relates to the tenant union. Pickets can be brought about as long as they're kept peaceful.
We saw the ad in the paper and it sounded good, and when we went, the model home didn't look bad. But we didn't know anything about their maintenance department then.
Low rent does not mean that tenants have to put up with a lot of the things that go on here. We do not feel that they are using the income from the tenants here wisely.
And if they use the tenant union to where they can withhold the rent from the landlord, then things can be done.
The management has all the advantages because they have to have some kind of training in rental and all that stuff, and they've been in it for years and they know the laws.
It's hard to get good legal advice to where a man can stand on his own 2 feet against a place like this, because as an individual, one man can't stand against a company this big. But as one body, as one group, then they can exercise a tremendous amount of power.
Proper maintenance, heat, these are things that people ask for, but yet somehow that didn't bring this large group of people together. And everybody wants it, but they didn't fight for it.
We were learning as we went, and I think it disillusioned and dissatisfied a lot of tenants. I think if we had a lot more knowledge to begin with before we said, hey, here we are, then maybe they would have been more inclined to say, yeah, I think you have something, I think you can help us.
So as far as my going back to school, I have to take 2 courses in business law, and if I like it well enough, I'm going to try to follow it on through to where I can be able to help people in communities like this. Because people here in this community, now they aren't rich or they aren't wealthy. They're just poor working people, and they have to work hard for their living, for their money.
And where would I like to live? About a 4-bedroom with a full-size basement. It can even have an attic with about an acre of ground, I think, around it. This is just about what I'd like to have. This is the dream, you know, not the reality.
Little circle being broken, by and by.